there's a chance that Democrats make inroads, at least in the House, at the next election. So at the midterm, so that would start to mean that these votes get even tighter and more tricky for the current president, and therefore, if you did have the third party, which Elon Musk calls the America Party, even having a few small gains by having such a focused campaign, it could start to be a headache for the Republican Party as they try and, focus on their message for 2028, if this was a contender.
Elon Musk has officially said that he is starting a new political party. In fact, he said that it starts today. He's announced on his social media platform X that he's set up the America Party, billed it as a challenge to the Republicans and the Democrats and the two-party system. Let's speak to the Times Washington editor, Katy Balls, who joins us from there tonight. Katy, hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I sort of find it a little bit difficult, Katy, to figure out what I should and shouldn't take seriously from what Elon Musk tweets, says or does. Where would you sort of place this on the seriousness barometer?
I think you have to take it at least semi-seriously. Now, of course, you have a point in the sense that we've had this war of words between Elon Musk and Donald Trump ever since he left his official role in Doge, which he left initially with this very warm press conference in the Oval Office, but just a few days later, I think, as we slightly expected, it became a fight. And then that was walked back and he started praising Donald Trump again. But ultimately, we know that there are some real signs of tension in terms of their relationship. And that is an issue when it comes to going forward. Elon Musk really took issue with the big, beautiful bill that just passed Congress and the Senate, seeing it as damaging to the economy. And Donald Trump has lashed out, even recently suggesting that maybe, Doge need to be applied to Elon Musk businesses. So I think we're certainly in a fiery period. And the way Elon Musk plans to take revenge is by having this third party, the America Party. Now, it's obviously really difficult to launch a new party, but given Elon Musk's wealth, given his influence and the fact he owns X, you can't completely dismiss it, particularly because you can judge a party on how many, how many people it elects and so forth, but you can also judge it on how it hurts the other side. And having another party on the right taking votes from Republicans, or even just winning in a few areas that mean they would have some control, could be a problem for Donald Trump.
Okay, so we're assuming that this, and I suppose it is a fair calculation, isn't it, Katy, that this would be a way of eating into the MAGA base, that it would be Republicans that are most concerned about this idea?
I think that's a fair suggestion, and that's probably more broadly aimed at Republicans than Democrats. So, of course, Elon Musk's own political journey has been quite varied before he came to Donald Trump at the last election. And I think that we know from what Elon Musk has been talking about, he's clashed with the MAGA base, Steve Bannon, for example, many times. He is, generally speaking, someone who I think this would be a party that is concerned about spending, wants further limits on spending, concerned about government debt, concerned about, would be probably in favour of deregulation, and would be very anti-illegal immigration, but probably on legal migration would take a more positive line than parts of the current Republican Party does, because that's one of the areas where Elon Musk has clashed with parts of the base previously on, for example, visas for the highly talented coming into this country of America.
Elon Musk says, by the way, that he's going to apply an extremely concentrated force at a precise location on the battlefield. So what's interesting about this then is the idea that he sort of establishes a party, Katy, and it becomes big enough and wide enough and is sort of, just frankly, sort of on enough ballots for him to become president, although he wouldn't be eligible, would he? But, for somebody, for them to sort of take, Senate seats and House seats and maybe even win the presidency feels kind of far-fetched. But what he could do then, and what he's sort of alluding to doing here, is perhaps really heavily targeting some sort of key states or key counties, and maybe sort of doing enough to upset things that way.
Exactly, and I think this is about, is there the balance of power? Is there a route by which a new party could enter, as you say, really focus in on a few key contests in the midterms in 2026, and at that point start to have the say on contentious issues when they're in Congress and the Senate. And for example, the big beautiful bill, as Donald Trump has called it, that passed by one vote. You can imagine on current polling, there's a chance that Democrats make inroads, at least in the House, in the next election. So at the midterm. So that would start to mean that these votes get even tighter and more tricky for the current president. And therefore, if you did have the third party, which Elon Musk calls the America Party, even having a few small gains by having such a focused campaign, it could start to be a headache for the Republican Party as they try and, focus on their message for 2028, if this was a contender. And there's obviously lots of ifs, but we have seen Elon Musk use his money effectively for the Republican Party at the last election. There is a chance he could use it fairly effectively in a different vehicle.
And I wonder, Katy, and I wonder what you think about this. I'm sort of trying to figure out where it would sit on the political spectrum, who it would take votes from, what it would pursue as an ideology. If it's sort of more helpful to think about the sort of spectrum of politics in America in particular, but also increasingly in the UK as well, as being about sort of radicals and moderates. You've got these kind of like, if to radical might not be the right word, but you'll understand where I'm going with this. When I talk about these insurgent forces, or MAGA, sort of things that are sort of cast in the image of MAGA, where they sort of steal a little bit from different bits of the political spectrum, but they're about upheaval and they're about change and they're about about sort of burning the system down, versus a sort of moderate politics, which is perhaps a bit more small c conservative. The Democrats perhaps a bit more small c conservative than even MAGA is at the moment. And those are the dividing lines on which American politics and increasingly British politics are fought these days.
Yes, and I also think if you start to and this is of course speculation this far out, but the potential candidates for both the Democrats and the Republicans for 2028, I think that lots of Democrats think that AOC, a congresswoman on the left, cannot be underestimated here. And lots of people look to JD Vance when it comes to the Republican Party as the vice presidents to lose. Now, both of those candidates are not particularly pro-business, or not at least seen by the business community. So you could argue there is a space for a more pro-business, moderate type party. Elon Musk does not like tariffs at all, and struggled to contain, his views on it even when he was in position. So you have Elon Musk now accusing both these parties of being uni parties in terms of their approach to the economy, and therefore is the middle ground. Of course, it's hard to describe Elon Musk as too much status quo, given what he's done for his companies has changed the world in many ways. But I think it's certainly me more minded into kind of what does the tech world think, what does the business world think, and doing it that way. So perhaps in a way moving away from some of the more populist undercurrents, which you see in the current Republican Party and the MAGA base, and to a degree in parts of the Democrat Party too.